Hey everyone, welcome to the first official episode of the Come Back Collective. Typically, I will be interviewing other people who have had hard times and they've come back and they're resilient, and we're going to talk about their stories. But for this first episode, we're going to talk about everything that I've been through in the last 5 years and what I did to rebuild, how I came back from it, and where things are possibly heading. If you've been around on Instagram, TikTok, you might be like, I've heard some of this. Okay, well, just hang tight. It's going to be a quick synopsis of everything that's happened in the last 5 years. It's literally been like 3 lifetimes, so there's a lot to go over. Today, I'm opening up about the last 5 years and what broke me and what I've done to rebuild. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of a timeline. I might be staring off into space at one point for me to focus. I might be glancing down at my notes I just jotted down. So I got married in 2014. I was 23 years old. I think I was 23 because it's 2025. I'm about to be 34. So I think 23 years old, got married, had my first child at 25, bought my house at 25, had my second child at 28. You did the whole get married, have kids, white picket fence thing that my parents' generation did. And it didn't work. Did not work for me. So in 2019, about 6 months after I'd had my daughter, my ex-husband and my ex-best friend had an affair. And if you want to hear about that entire story, it is on the Breakup Breakdown Podcast with Abby Murphy. So it's going to be linked somewhere in the description for you. You can go over and listen to that entire story. But quick synopsis of he had an affair. I caught them cheating, literally saw them out the window cheating. Stayed with him for 18 months, partially because I was well, till death do us part. The other part of me was I'm not in a financial place to leave. And then COVID hit 2020. And he had what did we used to call it? An essential job or whatever. It seems so long ago. Some of all the verbiage from back then is worn off my brain. Anyway, so I think it was November of 2020. I finally decided to leave. I had to set myself up to leave my marriage. And, God was with me through all of that. One of the first things that I did was refinance our house, and I paid off all of our joint credit card debt that we had. I never grew up with credit card debt. I don't have any now. I'm not used to having credit card debt, but when I was married, we had credit card debt, and it was mostly just us constantly playing catch up on all of the renovations we were doing on our house. It was just never ending owning a house, always shelling out money every right and left. So got all of that paid off. I paid off my car. I think I even did things paid off my cell phone. I wanted to leave with minimal bills because this was before I knew about things like child support, alimony, food stamps, just all of the things that are available for single moms. I would have left a lot sooner. Anyway, so I set myself up in that aspect. I was the only thing I want to have tied to this man is our house and our children. I didn't want anything else. So I paid off all our cards, removed him from all of my accounts, closed off things I couldn't remove him from. And then from July until November, I think July into October, it's how long it took for me to find a job. So I was still married. It'd been about a year from the time the affair happened. I was I'm done. I need to move out. I need to get going. I need to separate. I need to leave. But I was I'm not doing that until all my ducks are in a row. Granted, at this point, my family had no idea that he cheated on me. And I always said that I was why am I going to tell them if I'm going to be leaving him? So never told my family. So when the affair first happened, I had absolutely no support. No one knew. For 3 months, I didn't tell a single soul. Then at 3 months, I told at the time, another best friend what happened. And she was oh my gosh, I can't believe you're still friends with this other woman. I'm never going to be around her again. And I was she pulled my head out of water because I was oh, if I can stay, if I can forgive my husband, I can forgive my best friend. And that was just how low I was and just how little support system I had. My only support was this woman and my husband who cheated on me basically. So told another friend, she pulled my head out of water, could see clear as day, ended my friendship with the woman he had the affair with. And then I went and told every single mutual who had a husband what she did. And they all stopped being friends with her too. They were all thinking it was weird that I suddenly was out of the picture, and they were kind of wanting to figure out what was up. So when I told them, they were it's the missing, piece of the puzzle. So I left him in November of 2020. I had teed myself up to be able to leave him. I had even gone to the extent of helping my grandparents, where I'm living now, move. They had this like bus from the 60s in their side yard. I like found someone to sell it to on Facebook Marketplace, got that moved out of the way. And then I had a different family member move my original like 2015 Keystone Springdale that I had renovated to the property for me to move. So when I initially was like, hey, I want to separate, I want to get divorced, we actually shared the house from November till March. I would go back and forth 30 miles living in my home with my children and then living in my trailer by myself. And then we'd go back and forth. So we never actually lived together while we were separating, which was nice. We just shared the house. So anyway, we ended up selling the house in spring of 2021. And that whole first year, I look back now and it's so funny because I'm exactly where 2021 Rebecca wanted to be. I'm there right now. I look back and I just want to like go give her a hug. Like, it's going to be okay. It's going to take you 4 years, but you're going to get there. And obviously there's still a lot more I want to move forward to, but I just look back and I'm like, okay, I am exactly where 2021 Rebecca wanted to be. Like, that is something to be proud of. So when I first got divorced and separated, that was the first time my parents found out that he had even cheated. And I remember my dad just being like, are you sure you can afford to get divorced? And I was just like, oh, okay. So like my misery is like how I'm feeling and my mental health isn't important. Like, it's all about money. Anyway, so got divorced, ended up being obviously the best thing that's ever happened. Moved closer to my parents. My mom's basically my co-parent, and that's been really great. And then initially we were like, okay, where are we going to live? What are we going to do? And I had some other family who was like, oh, we have this like little granny unit, attached to our house. Like, we'd love to have you and the kids stay there. You can even renovate it, make it look the way you want to. And we'll charge you, $1,200 a month for rent, which some of you are probably like, that's a lot. That's very little. $1,200 for where I live is very little. Typical rent is like $3,000 to $4,000. And they're like, oh, we'll give you 2 months free rent for doing the renovations. I'm like, okay, cool. So I started working on that like April, May, moved in June, go up to sign my lease, and they had counted my 2 months of free rent when I started the renovation, which at first I was like, okay, that was like some miscommunication. Like could have let that go. And then they raised my rent from $1,200 to $2,000. So an $800 increase, which is like percentage wise, that's a lot. And they were just like, oh, we could rent it out for so much more now that it's renovated. And I just felt so stabbed in the back. I was like, I left my husband, the man I had children with, the man I bought a house with, the man I was married to, because he betrayed me. I'm not sticking around for y'all's BS. So literally I like packed up, moved into my little camper temporarily, bought the big fifth wheel that I had for 3 years, and then just peaced out. Never talked to them again, never had any interactions with them again. And then I was telling the story just like I did just now. I didn't say who, what, when, where, anything that would identify them. I was telling the story on TikTok. Someone on TikTok was like, why do you live in an RV? And I was like, well, let me tell you. And I think that video went viral, or I'd had a bunch of viral videos around that time. And so like the Daily Mail was writing articles about me. And basically in retaliation, that family, relative, whatever you want to call them, they turned me into code enforcement. So where I live, it's not illegal to live in an RV, but if someone tattletales on you, code enforcement will come and enforce that you can't live in your camper. But if they haven't had someone complain, they don't care. So it wasn't like Breaking Bad or anything there. So I ended up actually calling the ex-spouse of that relative and was like, hi, can I like move up to your property? Like so-and-so and so-and-so, this is what they did to me. And they were like, oh, of course, like, please, like, we'd love to have you. So I ended up having to move away. And again, it was one of those things where like having to move away, it was God being like, I'm going to like take you out to the desert so that I can like bring you back like he did at the Israelites. I really, really felt that way. There's also like a lot of cleaning out that happened. Like I had a lot of friendships that ended, and I low-key looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, these people were just using me. I was available. I had a truck. I had a flexible schedule. I'm very capable. I can fix things, move things, build things, whatever. So gotta kind of use that time in my life to literally like take the trash out and clear out some friendships that should not have been in my life. And then I was gone for about 6 months, and then my mental health was like tanking. So I hit up my grandparents. I was like, hey, you need me back at your place. I need to be back there. Like, I'm going to move back, and I'm just going to keep a low profile. So I moved back to my grandparents' house eventually. But in the midst of all of this, so that whole like granny unit story, whatever, happened in 2021. So right after I'd gotten divorced. I'd been divorced for like 6 months. Separated. I wasn't even legally divorced yet. I was separated for like 6 months when that happened. And so then in November of 2021 was when I met my now ex-boyfriend, who I was with for 3 years. So when I moved up to the lake, I, did kind of have his support. I had my family's support, obviously. And then my friends that I've accumulated in the last few years were really, really, really supportive. And just everyone felt bad for me. Like I just didn't deserve what I had happen. So anyway, moved up to the lake. And in the midst of all of that, basically from 2021 to 2023, I had a couple different jobs. I was working in commercial real estate remotely. I was working in residential real estate remotely, had these 2 stable W-2 jobs or whatever. And then at one point I did get laid off from both of those just due to the economy, just at different times between 2021, 2023. And that was how I finally went full time with content. So I've been creating content since 2011. I had a blog at one point. I had a newsletter, Instagram, whatever. And so I always knew that this is what I wanted to do full time. I just was like, how can I make it feasible? So after I got laid off, basically summer of 2023, I went full time with all the content creation stuff. And yeah, I've just kind of let God provide. He just keeps providing. Shitty things keep happening to me, and he just keeps making a way, providing for me. I have people you need a man who can provide for you. I'm like, maybe, but right now God's got me, and he's doing a pretty freaking good job. So I don't need anyone else in the mix. So moved up to the lake is what we call it in 2023. Was up there for 6 months. Moved back at the beginning of 2024. So about every 6 months, 6 to 12 months, my world gets rocked and just shaken and just flipped upside down. So moved back into town, had been in town for 6 months, was man, life is finally where it should be. I am back home. I have a boyfriend. My kids are at the same school. Everything is going well. Every time I think things are going well, shit hits the fan. So July 1st, I think, of 2024, my boyfriend of 2.5 years comes to me and he goes, I just found out I had a kid. Yeah. So he comes to me, tells me he just found out he had a kid. The birthday of the kid totally lines up when he said that he, had last slept with her, which was right before he was committed to me. So that all lined up, but I was devastated. I was wait, this wasn't part of my plan. I didn't see this coming. Part of the reason I liked this dude was because he didn't have kids and he didn't want kids. I'm all a lie. That full story. So long story short, and actually ended up catching him living a double life. He was in a relationship with his son's mom for 5 years, a relationship with me for 3 years. He had an ex-girlfriend who overlapped with the two of us, but he'd been with her for 10 years. There's a timeline video on Instagram that keeps going viral. And then this whole episode about this catching him living a triple life is also on the Breakup Breakdown Podcast by Abby Murphy. So both of those podcasts, I've been on her show twice. We were can we never meet like this again? So both of those full episodes are going to be linked in the description. I'm not going to go into any more detail about them here, but you get the gist. So ended 2024 without said boyfriend, was just thankful he was gone. I look back at all the times that I almost broke up with him and just all the excuses he had for all the reasons he would always cancel last minute. And it's because he was living all of these other lives, which is crazy because now my radar for that stuff is so heightened that if a man follows me on Instagram, maybe that I know in town from their business page and not their personal page, I'm yeah, you have a wife or a girlfriend or a baby mama. I'm just so aware. I have people now who are hey, can you find out information about this person for me? I've basically started my own fake, not really a business, side hobby PI situation where I can literally find out anything about anyone. So Anyway, that's how I ended 2024. I was like, I'm going to go into 2025 a free woman. I'm going to do all the things I wanted to do, yada, yada, yada. I'm single. This piece of trash is out of my life. I lost 280 pounds or however much that man weighed. January rolls around, and my grandmother, who I've been living with for 5 years, she's 91. My grandfather's 96. She's drives to Trader Joe's. She does her laundry. She does her gardening. I'm going to help her with a lot, but like she's still very capable, does all their cooking, all their cleaning. She tells me one day, she's like, I have really bad back pain. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I like call up my mom, like, hey mom, grandma's got back pain. My mom's like, oh, let's go to the doctor. The doctor is like, oh, we'll just give you something. My mom's like, no, I want to find out what's wrong. So they go to the ER, because when you're in your 90s, the quickest way to get anything done is to just go to the emergency room. They do MRIs, they do scans, they do blood work, and get it all back within like a few hours. So anyway, we've gotten in the habit with her. We would take her to the ER, call an ambulance anytime something happened, because it's just what you do when you're in your 90s and you're on blood thinners and all these things. So anyway, she goes in basically to the hospital with back pain, comes out with cancer. So that back pain was actually a mass on her bile duct that was causing her pain, and within like 2 weeks she was gone. She turned jaundice, and she never recovered. They put a stent in the bile duct to drain everything, and she just never recovered. She was home here on hospice, and I'll have to do like a whole episode probably on that, because it was wild to like walk someone from life to death and like know that they're in heaven is crazy. So anyway, my grandmother passes very suddenly. We're all just like super shook. Again, I'm living outside, checking in on my grandfather. I had an aunt who was in town for like 3 weeks. She left, so he was only alone for like 6 days before this next part of the story happened. And every time I've had something happen, I usually am like I know, like I'm prompted, like something in my spirit's like, something's coming. So after my grandma passed, I was like, something's coming. So I literally one day I'm like in my trailer, getting ready to clean some things, do some spring cleaning, and I'm getting a call from my neighbor, and she's like, code enforcement is walking up your driveway. So not only did this man walk up my driveway, because a different family member called code enforcement on me, he trespassed. He walked down our like 100-yard driveway, through the gate to the RV. I have it all on camera, because I actually ended up like calling the police, getting a police report, contacting the city. He was removed from my case. They're doing like an internal investigation. I'm obviously not living in a trailer anymore, so I'm not, I'm in compliance. So they just kind of like dropped it. They were like, oh yeah, we're not even gonna like bug you about this for another couple of months, because we know your grandma died, but we will have to just like come by after you've sold the trailer and see that it's gone, so we can just like check it off. I was like, that's fine. But they like not hard pressed about it at all. Code enforcement comes by, and we had already kind of talked about like, do I move into the house? Like, who's gonna live with grandpa? Like, what are we gonna do? And it was hard on me to like go between taking care of my children in my house, my grandfather and his, going back and forth, cleaning, cooking for everyone. It was a lot on top of what I already like to do, all my self-care things, all my work stuff. So anyway, long story short, we moved into my grandfather's house. He invited us in. It's been great. I feel like I've never lived anywhere else. That's what's wild. I like will walk into the trailer when I show it to people to buy it, and I'm always like, when did I live here? But that usually is what happens to me. Like, I'm always like, when was I married? When did I live in that house? Like, when was I even with my ex-boyfriend? Like, I just like, when I have traumatic stuff happen, my brain just like blocks it out. So anyway, with all that being said, obviously horrible situation to have to like move out of my brand new RV, but then like I've said, God always provides. He provides a way. He makes it better. So moving in with my grandfather has been great. Anyway, all is going well with me and my grandfather and our kids, my kids, all of us living together. The 4 of us, plus there's a dog. So there's 5 of us. It's going well. I'm enjoying it. Enjoying the process. I'm enjoying having like room for a desk, room to set my microphone up. I have my TV, my vanity, my bed. And it's just like so fun being in the house that I grew up in. That is just so fun. Like, I'm pulling out stuff to bake with that I used to bake with my grandma. Just like things like that. So these are the things that have kept me sane, basically, or afloat while all of this like just crap is happening, right? So everything's just like coming at me, and I'm just like trucking forward. So I started going to therapy right before my ex-husband cheated on me in 2019. I found a therapist, and I said, I'm feeling like I'm on the verge of like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. I would like to start being seen as your client. So I started to see her, because again, I'm like all about the preventative care. So I didn't want to be like so anxious and depressed that I like couldn't even get myself to go to therapy. So I started doing that in probably April or May of 2019. And then in June was when the affair happened. And we had already talked, the therapist and I had talked about doing like couples therapy here and there, because I just was like, again, preventative care. Like, I'm already seeing her, like, why not come for couples therapy? So I hit her up and I go, I just caught my husband, my best friend together. Like, can we come in for a couples session? And she was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, I'm so sorry you went through that. So I've been going to therapy with the same therapist since 2019. I just talked with her a couple days ago. We've gone through a lot together. She's even she lost her husband through all of that. It's just crazy. So been going to therapy. That helps a lot. Talk therapy is what it's technically called. So been doing talk therapy since 2019. And then, of course, everyone's like, oh, you need to journal, you need to journal, you need to journal. Y'all, you need to journal, okay? Because when I started being super, super consistent with my journaling, that really made a huge difference. I stopped feeling the need to like share what I wanted to share with other people, because you can't trust anyone. Sorry, did you need me to say that again? You can't trust anyone. So write that stuff in a journal. I'm like looking for my journal. It's around here somewhere. It's almost full, actually. It looks like this because I have another one on deck. Get a journal that you think is just so cute, that you love, that's high quality, and start writing in it. Start writing in it every day. And I threw some of my journals away, I think, because I didn't want my ex-boyfriend to ever find anything I'd written in them, like prior to him. And now I regret it, because some of those people that I had written about have come back into my life. And I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have like reflected back. So do not throw your journals away. Don't do it. Just save them, hide them somewhere. I write like really bad, like chicken scratch handwriting. So like if someone found them, they'd have a really hard time like deciphering what I wrote, but I can read it. So talk therapy, journaling, and then like having just a solid routine helps so much. You have to have a routine when the days are good, because then when your days are bad, you can fall back on that habit, fall back on that routine, and it's going to get you through those hard days until you're back on track and where you need to be. Okay, so we're going to talk therapy, we're journaling, we have our routine, and then the fourth one is self-care. Self-care, which I feel like it's gotten a lot easier now. And even like just romanticizing your life. That was what the one I was thinking of. I was like, I had a fourth one. It's romanticizing your life and self-care. They kind of go hand in hand, right? So romanticizing your life is like making everything just special. Like, oh, I'm going to make this matcha, but I'm going to use this special mug, and I'm going to put like my essential oils in my diffuser while the water's heating up, and I'm going to ice roll, kind of just like romanticizing things. And I feel like in this day and age, it's so easy to do all of that because there's so much content online of people doing that. So if you're like, I just don't really know, I don't really have any inspo, go hop on to freaking YouTube and search like aesthetic day in the life, and you're going to see a whole aesthetic day in the life for some inspo. So there's just too much out there for you to have any sort of an excuse of like, oh, I don't really know how to romanticize my life. There's no excuse. And then again, self-care. So self-care can be a lot of things. For me, self-care is going to the gym. To me, self-care is getting my nails done, all acrylic. Anyway, the list goes on and on for self-care. So it doesn't always have to be like facials and massages and whatever. I mean, I do a lot of those things. I get massaged, I go to the stretch lab, I go to the chiropractor. All my self-care is definitely health related. I go see a nutritionist, I get my supplements. Doesn't have to be. You could have like your own self-care where you're like, no, my self-care is sitting in a quiet room reading a book. My self-care is sitting in a quiet room drawing. Whatever your self-care is. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. The most recent thing that I've done in my healing journey was actually ketamine therapy. That was really an interesting experience, especially for someone who, I haven't drank alcohol in 2 years and I've never done like drugs. So that was an interesting experience. I really liked it though. It like calmed my mind. Like I left just with like less noise going on. And it also helped that I had like cut out a friendship recently that was like chaotic and noisy. I'm now living in my grandfather's house. It's very peaceful, very quiet in here. Like he is hard of hearing. He has hearing aids. So I don't really like even play music anymore, because I feel like sometimes I used to play music because I was just so used to the chaos, so used to noise. So it's like I've cut out the chaotic boyfriend. I've cut out the chaotic girlfriend. I've cut out just all of the chaos. And now after doing ketamine therapy, I'm even more aware. Like I was like, oh my gosh, me getting text messages was like sending my brain into chaos. So now I like live life with my phone on do not disturb. And my phone had been on silent, y'all. My phone's been on silent for a long time. Like, I think I put that shit on silent back in like 2019 when I had 2 kids. I was like, I don't need to hear someone's text tone going off and distracting me from my literal babies. So anyway, Do Not Disturb has been a great feature for me the last week. My friends are like, how's isolation? I'm like, it's freaking fantastic. I love all of you and I would love to see you soon and we can talk about your life when I see you. Anyway, and then I think the biggest takeaway that I've had over the last 5 years, not to get all like churchy on everyone, but I grew up going to church. I grew up being like, oh, Jesus is the way, the truth, the light, yada, yada, yada. But it wasn't until I started like hearing God's voice when like he was like, your husband's cheating on you, or just like all of these horrible things that I've told you guys about today. Like, he's always been there. He's always provided a house. He's always provided income. He's always provided a way, people to help me, support, whatever the case is. So where am I right now? It is almost my 34th birthday, 2 more weeks, and I'm just like living life on my own, and I really like it. Really like it. Really like it. I think I like it too much, actually. It's okay. I was like in a season of burnout, so I'm kind of like recovering from that, and then I'm going to come back focusing on my kids, focusing on myself, focusing on my grandfather. We live on an acre and there's a lot to take care of, so I'm really just like diving into that because I love yard work. I'm like looking outside at these roses right now. I'm like, oh, those probably need to be trimmed. Anyway, so no matter where you are at today, if you are where I was 5-6 years ago or anywhere in between, or maybe you're like 10 years past me and you're like, I need to come be on the Comeback Collective because my story is a big one, then please hit me up, send me an email. Right now, the email is comebackcollectivepodcast@gmail.com. Very basic. Yes. So I'd love to hear more from all of you in the comments. If you want me to elaborate on something that I talked about today in another episode, let me know in the comments for sure. And remember, if you are in a hard season right now, it's not going to last forever. You're not alone and your comeback is coming. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel and of course all of the other places that you can find me on the internet. Typically it's _real Rebecca. There's also a Comeback Collective podcast Instagram that you can follow along with if you want to make sure you know new episodes are coming out. All right. Love you guys. Bye.